Hi, I'm Rita. Welcome back to my booktube channel, Life Worth Reading. And welcome to the start of a new reading vlog. This one is very special to me because it is a themed reading vlog and it is about one book and one book only. And that is the highly praised but also highly controversial The Atlas Six by Olivia Blake. Now, if you've been anywhere on booktube, bookstagram, book talk over the past, let's say at least year and a half, then you've seen this book, you've heard about this book, you've seen other people read it, you've seen them love it, you've seen them hate it, you've heard about this book. With The Atlas Six, I am curious. I am so curious to see what I'll think of this book because it is so polarizing. A lot of people love it, but a lot of people hate this book. And a lot of my friends have hated this book, but some of my friends have loved this book. Indeed, it is a very polarizing one that I am excited to get to. So in this reading vlog, this is the only book that I'll be reading. My purpose throughout however long it takes me is to tell you what I think of this book without spoilers and just review it because I want to see what I think. Am I an Olivia Blake stan? Or am I not? And I think that's going to be a very interesting experiment. Also, the sequel to this book is coming out in literally 2 days. So if I really like it, I might read the sequel. But I don't know. I doubt that's going to happen because I rarely read series back to back. So books in series back to back, I rarely do that, but we'll just have to see. Like I mentioned, this vlog will be absolutely no spoilers and you will hear my thoughts as I read it and also a very thorough review at the end. I started this book earlier today. I am currently 63 pages into a 450-page book, and what we got so far is that we met our 6 characters, obviously the Atlas Six, and they're all magicians or people that have magic abilities, and they are all very rare and they are invited to compete to be part of the Alexandria Society. Our 6 people are Libby, Nico, Reina, Parisa, Callum, and Tristan. And we've also met the guy that's behind the guy that picked them, and his name is Atlas Blakely. And honestly, I don't like that man. I'm sorry. Like, he's been in every chapter so far because he's just meeting the characters and inviting them to be a part of this Alexandria Society and this competition, and I don't like him. I don't like him a lot. The writing style so far is fine. I think it's a little bit pretentious. I think that Olivia Blake just kind of drops big words and has very complicated sentences for no reason, so it's not flowing as nicely as I hoped it would. So far it's a little bit pretentious, but it's not bothering me. So the first 2 characters that we meet are Libby and Nico, and they are rivals at the same school, and it's giving, this was literally the first chapter, but it's giving a forced enemies to lovers. Like, I feel it coming and I don't feel the vibes yet. It's very childish so far. I think that enemies to lovers has been very overdone in the last, I don't know, maybe few years. I think that it's very rare to find a good enemies to lovers, at least that I enjoy, and that it's not childish. And this one seems very childish already. Like, in the first chapter, Nico was like really pushing Libby's buttons and he was like making fun of her boyfriend, and she was like, oh, I hate you so much, and he was like, oh my god, I hate you too. It seemed a little bit forced in the first chapter. That was probably the part that irritated me the most. Now, a lot of people say that one of the POVs is the one that's most annoying to them, and I have no idea what it is. I think it's going to be Callum because he was another character that we met and he was very insufferable. Not in a cute way. Sometimes I like an unlikable character. I like a Kaz Bracker type of character, but this man is getting on my nerves. He is. So, my complicated thoughts so far. I am feeling an academic rivals to lovers with Libby and Nico, and so far I'm not feeling it. I don't like Callum. I don't like Atlas so far. And then the other characters all very meh. so far. I think the only one that I liked is Reina. Reina is a naturalist and she makes plants grow, and she's just a cute little hippie that makes plants grow, and that's very cute to me. I like that. But so far she's the only one that I like. I haven't felt like a deep connection with any of them, but I think their purpose is to be unlikable. So like I'm unsure of how to feel about this book, because I'm not sure, are we supposed to like these characters or not? I don't get it. But yeah, I'm just going to continue on reading. That's basically all that's happened so far. We just met each of the characters in their setting, and they are introduced to Atlas, who invites them to be a part of this meeting where all the 6 of them are going to meet, and he is, I'm guessing in the next chapter, about to introduce this competition and what they have to do to win. And yeah, only 5 of them I think stay in the Alexandria Society, so one of them has to go by the end of the book. And yeah, that's all that I got so far, but I am excited to keep reading. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not in love with it. I'm not loving it, but I'm also not hating it, so at least that's something so far. Hello, it's Monday and I'm just here to update you on my reading experience with the Atlas 6. I am on page 115, so I'm a little bit like a quarter of the way through, and I don't have a lot of thoughts actually. I'm finding it very underwhelming. I'm not liking it and I'm not hating it. It's very middle of the road for me so far, and I'm just very underwhelmed by the characters, the society so far. I'm not vibing with it, but I'm also not hating it, so I actually don't have a lot to say. They don't like each other. Neither of the characters like each other, and I'm finding that Olivia Blake definitely has preferences for which character she likes the most. And I feel like when you have such a big cast of characters, like in Six of Crows, like I mentioned, obviously there are always like favorites, but I think that, for example, in Six of Crows, it's very well balanced between characters, and some of them appear more than others, but you still feel like each of them have a rounded sense of personality, a rounded journey that they're going through. And in this book, I don't feel that way. I just know that she prefers some characters over others, and some of them she's trying to put so much in them that she forgets other characters. And so far I'm just very underwhelmed. But right now I'm off to the library to study, not to pick up books. I'm going to study for a little bit because I have a lot of school stuff to do, and I'm bringing the Atlas 6 with me, and I'm just going to chill there for a little bit, study for a couple of hours, and then I'll see what I'll do. So I'll see you later. Hello friends, today is Tuesday and I'm just here to update you a little bit. I have been to uni, I have come back. It is now 5:30-ish in the afternoon and I'm going for a little walk, and I'm bringing the book with me. I've been feeling a little bit down lately, and ever since I've started driving to uni, I used to go by public transportation, but now I live way further away than I used to, and so I need to go by car. It's much faster, it's much more efficient. But since I've been driving to uni, I haven't been walking as much as I used to, and I've just been feeling a little bit more stuck and a little bit lazy, I guess. So I've been pushing myself to go on walks. I try to go every single day, and I am very privileged enough to live like right next to a beautiful garden. So I am trying to go on daily walks, and I'm about to go on mine now because it's been getting dark much earlier now, so I need to go now before it gets really dark and cold. But just to update you, I am on page 165, so I am almost like kind of halfway through. Not really, I'm like 30-ish% into this book, and I'm really struggling with it because I just figured out that this is not going to be an interesting vlog because I have no I don't have a lot of thoughts on this one. Like, I was hoping to either love it or hate it, because either one would be good content, right? Like me really loving and talking about a book that I just loved, or me hating it and making rant reviews and all that. But I have no strong feelings about this one. I kind of want to DNF it. I won't for the purpose of this vlog, but I do want to DNF it because nothing of interest is happening. And one of my thoughts are that the characters are all unlikable. We know that. A lot of people say that. It's true. And again, they're unlikable, not in a cool way, but in a you could have written them better type of way. And the character relationships are not interesting because they all hate each other. But again, it's like uninteresting, right? Because there's animosity between them, but it's not an interesting animosity. It's not different types of animosity. They're just like, we don't know each other, we don't like each other, we're here to compete. And it doesn't have any substance to it yet, at least. But I'm almost 200 pages into a book, so if there's going to be interesting developments in their characters and in their relationships with each other, it needs to be now, right? I'm not going to wait until the end of the book for them to have interesting dynamics. I'm really struggling with that, and I'm also struggling with the world building and the magic system. I can tell that Olivia Blake was really trying to not info dump, and though I can appreciate that effort, it just leaves this book to feel very incomplete. Like, I don't understand a single thing of what is happening. I don't understand each of their magic abilities. I don't understand how this world works. I don't get it, because there are few authors that can make the world building very seamless and that can make it very easy for you to understand certain things. And unfortunately, I don't think that Olivia Blake is one of those authors, because I can tell that she's trying really hard for that to happen, for you to just move along with the story and just learn along with the characters. But I'm not learning. The characters don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. It seems like the author doesn't know what's going on. And it's very hard to focus, because this entire book is about these 6 people with these magical abilities fighting for this spot in this society. And I don't understand the society. I can't visualize anything that's being described to me. I don't understand each of their powers. The only ones that I understand is one of the girls, Parisa. She's a telepath, and another one of the girls is a naturalist, so she makes like plants grow and stuff. Those are the only 2 that I understand. Nico and Libby, they're physicists. I don't know. They mix physical elements. I don't get it. Another one can see through illusions. What does that mean? Another one is an empath. I guess I can understand that. And then, is that all? Yeah, that's all of them. And it's just very confusing. I don't understand what they're doing. Like, literally, I just got to a point where Libby was talking about how she can move time and she can mess with time and make wormholes, and I'm just like, huh? And she was also talking about how she was going to terraform Mars. Like, what is going on? Are you seriously telling me that you're going to terraform Mars? That's your ability? That's what you're doing in a society? I don't get it. And then, like, there was just this attack on their first day because they were supposed to secure the premise. Apparently they need to be like security guards for the society, and there was this attack. I'm not gonna go into details, but like all the action scenes were just very confusing. People were doing stuff, magical and non-magical. People were fighting, and I just couldn't understand anything. It didn't flow very nicely. It wasn't action scenes that flowed. I was just like, wait, who's doing what's going on? Like, so I'm really struggling with this one. I want to DNF it, but I won't, and I'm just going to bring it to the park with me for a little bit, try to read a couple more chapters. My goal today is to read until the page 200, because I need to upload this video on Friday. So I'm hoping to read 100 pages every day and finish it by Thursday so I can upload this on Friday. Let's see if that happens or not. I'm really not sure, but I'm just feeling very lukewarm about this story. I don't like it, but it's not like but it's not like let me tell you why I've hated this book type of situation. So I'm just feeling very lukewarm about it. If this continues on, I think I'm gonna give it 2 stars, but I still don't hate it. Like, I've hated other books more than I hate this one. But that being said, let's go for a walk. Let's go for a daily walk, and let's read a couple more chapters. Okay, besties, let's ignore the fact that I look absolutely fucking insane. I am like ready to go to bed. Like, I'm tired as fuck. I look a mess. Let's ignore that. But I just want to talk about how confusing this book is. I'm reading from one of the people, Tristan, and the thing with him is that you don't know his magic abilities. He doesn't know his own magic abilities. But like, see if you can make sense of this, because in here they're talking about the reality that he sees and how he sees things, because apparently that has something to do with his magic abilities. And it's like, mostly if he concentrated, he could see little particles of things. He wasn't hearing or smelling reality, and he certainly wasn't tasting it. It was more like he was dismantling it layer by layer, observing it as a model instead. Oliver Blake, what does this mean? He wasn't hearing or smelling reality, and he certainly wasn't tasting it. Does this example showcase how confused I am? Do I just lack the enormous brain cells that are needed to understand this text? Because clearly I lack the critical skills to absorb this. What is smelling, hearing, and tasting reality? What does it mean? Like, this is what I feel whenever I'm reading this book. I'm just so confused and nothing makes sense, and I'm just floating. Like, I'm the one that's floating and doesn't know what reality is because I don't understand anything. Anyway, I just wanted to showcase this little example to see if it makes sense that I don't understand a single thing that is going on in this damn book. Back to reading, I guess. It's a new day and I'm here with another update. Today is Wednesday. Oh my god. And I am on page 327, and this edition is 460 pages, so I am 130 pages from the end only. So I've read a good amount, and my thoughts are still mostly the same. The plot, I will say, has gotten a little bit more interesting, but I think I know where it's headed, and it's not my preferred ending to it. I think that if we were to follow the exact premise that is right now, because obviously there is a catch with the society, right? I'm not going to tell you what it is, but there is a catch, and they are now coming into that knowledge. The 6 of them are in different ways coming into that knowledge, and they're figuring out what they're going to do. And I think that if Olivia Blake followed on that premise and that, I'm not going to say challenge, but that thing, I think would make a much more interesting book and a much darker and richer book. But I know it's not going to happen because it is, I'm actually not sure. I guess this is an adult book, but I can tell that she's not going there, and I wish she would. Like, I wish she would go there, because if she were, this book would be a lot more interesting than what it is. And in the matter of their powers and the world building and the magic system, I still know nothing, right? And I mean, I am fearful that people will just watch this video and just assume that I'm very dumb. And like, maybe that's the case, but I just don't feel like this world is built well enough. I don't think that this magic system is built in a way to be easily consumed. I think that adult fantasy novels need a lot of world building and a lot of seamless world building, and that is just not the case. I think that Oliver Blake is trying to include a lot of big brain theories about time and space and how things work, and it's not clicking, right? Because it's just not making sense. And I don't think that it's a seamless approach to these topics, because the characters are just always coming up with theories and figuring out stuff that they can do that we didn't know they could do. And it feels like she's experimenting and not world building. These seem like fragments of ideas or concept that she had for the magic system and for her characters that just don't work, right? And I feel really mean saying this, but the published version is supposed to be an edited version of the self-published one that I've never read, won't read. I don't know the exact differences, but I feel like this wasn't edited properly, at least, because I feel like any person, any editor would read this and say, I don't think this magic system is clear. I don't understand what these characters are supposed to be doing. There's too much involved, right? Because sometimes in a magic system, it's good for it to be broad, but it's also good for it to be specific to one thing, and this is not. This involves so much stuff. It involves mind reading, the ability to mess with time, the ability to astro project, to travel in between dreams, to make other people do what you want them to do, to manipulate people and to get into their emotions and make them believe whatever you want them to. It's all just it involves, in my opinion, too much stuff. There's too much going on, and it's not clear, because you just don't, in the beginning, it's just like, oh, these 6 people have this specific magical powers. But then you proceed and you continue on reading, and suddenly anything is possible. I still don't understand what the society is. They say that there are other people in the society. I don't understand it. And it's just, I think that this book would have benefited from acting on a much smaller scale. I feel like if Oliver Blake didn't have so much ambition to involve so many subjects and so many ideas and so many concepts and so many characters and so many magical abilities and so many background stories, I think it's all a bit too much. And then what ends up happening is that you have main characters, except they're all supposed to be main characters, but they're not. Reina, she's barely in the book. She doesn't do anything. Callum, he's just there also. And sometimes he makes bad stuff happen, but he's just there. And then you have clear favorites of the author, which are the other 4. And it's not a self-contained story, and I think it would have benefited from being a self-contained story. Now, I have rambled on for a little bit too long. If you've listened to all of this, thank you, I guess. I've rambled a little bit. I'm going to keep reading, because the more I read today, the less I'll have to read tomorrow. I'm hoping that I'll leave like 70 or so pages to read tomorrow, so that this video can go up on Friday as intended. And I'm just going to keep reading. And Atlas Paradox actually came out yesterday, the 2nd book. And I don't think I'm going to be reading it. I'm going to be seeing spoiler reviews for it, but I don't think I'm going to be reading it, because I'm so confused. But I will keep reading now, and I'll check in tomorrow with my closer to the end final thoughts. But right now it still stands at like a 2.5. I'm interested in the plot, but I don't feel invested because I don't get it. I don't get it. But let's continue on reading, and I'll update you tomorrow. Hello! Today is Thursday and I have only one chapter left of the Atlas 6. I did it. I read this book as I was meant to be reading it. I did not delay it, though I did want to DNF it. But I have made it. We have one chapter left. I'm going on my daily walk now. Today's much colder than it was yesterday, so I'm gonna be all bundled up. But I'm going on my daily walk because it's been doing me really good. But yeah, I just wanted to update you that I'm almost done. And it has gotten a little bit more interesting. When I finish, when I give you my final thoughts, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. It has picked up a little bit. I am slightly more intrigued, but it's still not amazing. And also, I don't hate it. I haven't hated it yet. And I have some very lukewarm feelings about all of it. So let's read, let's go walk. Then we'll read the last chapter and then final thoughts. Okay, besties, I have done it. I have finished the Atlas 6. Not gonna lie, it's been a couple of hours because I was trying to gather my final thoughts so I could talk to you and discuss what I rated this book, what I thought of this book, what were my closing thoughts on how this book ended, all of that. So let's get into it. Okay, so all in all, my thoughts remained kind of the same as when I started this book, and that is that this was just a little bit underwhelming. Right? I was expecting to either love it or to hate it because that seems to be the general reaction, but I ended up feeling very lukewarm about it. I think that my final rating is a 2.5. I'm not sure if that's going to be rounded up to a 3 or lowered down to a 2 because my enjoyment, it doesn't feel like a 3, right? But it also doesn't feel like a 2 because 2 are for books that I actively dislike. I'm still trying to figure it out. For now, it's a 2.5, guaranteed. And here is why. I think my main criticism of this book, yes, the writing is pretentious, yes, the characters are unlikable, but those are all things that I expected going into the book, and therefore are not things that surprised or hindered my enjoyment of the book. For me, what ended up happening is that Olivia Blake tried to do too much with this book, right? She doesn't have a lot of experience in writing. She has a long career ahead of her, and I hope for the best as an author, but she tried to do too much with this book, and I think it needed to be edited down. She tried it, and she wanted it to be a very, very large scale, very ambitious plot, and it just did not, she did not execute it well. I have already talked about this idea in a previous clip. I remember that I said that this book would have benefited from being a more self-contained story done at a much smaller scale, because the premise is that the 6 individuals with different magic abilities are chosen to be part of this very mysterious society, right? And only 5 of them are going to get the spot, the permanent spot in this Alexandrian society. And I think that the story should have stopped there, because the thing with this book is that it's very character focused, right? Because Olivia Blake has put, you can tell that she has put a lot of work into her characters. They don't have to be likable. It doesn't really matter what I or you think of the characters, but it's clear that there was a lot of work put into the characters. And what I think ended up happening is that we meet the characters and we don't meet the world that they're in, right? We have, at the beginning, we have a chapter for each of the characters, how they come to be in the society. So we meet the characters, but it's very brief. We meet where they are at the moment when they meet Atlas, and we can tell a little bit of their environment, but we just don't understand the world. And I feel like I didn't understand the world, because I would say that this is an urban fantasy. They are in New York, they are in London, they're in Japan, they're in all of these real life places, but I just can't understand what type of world this is, because we have the mixing of non-magic people with magic people, and then I don't understand. For example, we got to a part at the end where we're talking about a certain character. I'm not going to name who. This is a spoiler-free review. And it is said that this character, something, was born when the earth was dying. So apparently, a few years ago, it's never really said what age these characters are. I know that a few of them are older than other ones, but it's never really mentioned how old each of the characters are. So in terms of timeline, there's not a real number in my head, but it said that one of the characters was born when the earth was dying. And apparently we find out this at the very end of the book. A few years ago, we don't know how many, the earth was dying, right? Climate change, all of that, and then the earth was kind of saved, or at least its end was delayed. And I'm just like, why am I just finding this out in the last chapter where it doesn't really matter? I know this seems like a small example, but I'm just trying to showcase how little we know of this world. Is this world supposed to be like ours? Is New York our New York? Is London our London? How do things work? Because it's just not well explained. There's no world building. It's not a self-contained story, and I think it would have benefited from being a self-contained story, because this feels like what we should have known by book 3 of a series. You know what I mean? It feels like this is not material for the first 200 or 300 pages of a book. It's not. And so that's my main criticism of this book, is that this would have benefited from being a story set at a much smaller scale. It could have been opened up in further books, but it never should have been this fast, because Olivia Blake's ambition did not match the execution of the story. She had a great ambition for what she wanted the plot to be. She had a very high concepts, and I could see the concepts, but it never reaches its true potential. Never. Because it can't be done in such a short book. Was it interesting sometimes? Yes. And I was looking forward to what was going to happen, but overall, like I mentioned, it never reaches its true potential. And I don't think it will in the second book. I think that if anything, it's just going to be opened up more and more and more, and it's never going to be a satisfying story. So that's what I think of it. I liked some characters. My favorite characters were Reina, and she barely appears in the book, so that's a win for me, I guess. And yeah, I didn't hate it, but I also didn't like it, and I'm not going to continue on. I'm going to read spoiler reviews of the Atlas Paradox, but I'm not going to put myself through this again, because it leaves you with a very unsatisfying feeling. And I haven't really seen any reviews talking about this, because most people just focus on, wow, the character is so unlikable, or the writing is so pretentious, which it is. It's just big words and philosophical ideas. But that didn't even bother me that much. What bothered me was the pacing, the story, the ambition, the high concept, and just I hate being confused. I hate being confused throughout an entire book. But those are my thoughts on the Atlas 6. Please don't leave any hate. I don't have any hate towards anyone that loved this book. The more people that love this book, the better. It didn't work for me personally because of all these things that I keep mentioning, and I might try other books by Olivia Blake. I know she writes some romances as well, so she might be a very, very good writer in another genre. This just didn't particularly work for me. And yeah, there's no need to hate, right? This is not a rant review. This is just my honest opinion on a book that's very, very popular right now. And I'm so glad that I read it. I had interest in reading this book. This wasn't just for the hype. I had interest in reading this book, and I'm glad that I read it. And I'm glad that I didn't hate it, because I didn't. I really didn't hate this book. I feel meh about it. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me and for spending the week with me as I read The Atlas 6. Let me know your opinions on the book. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What were your thoughts on it? Let me know, because I value your opinion just as much as I hope you'll value mine. And that's all that I gotta say. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in my next video. I hope you have a nice day, and always remember that life is worth reading.